type we have in Excel. The data type we have in Excel. There are different data types in Excel, but we'll be talking about some that are kind of we might familiar ourselves with. So first one is number. So we have number. Any kind of number. It might be normal number, whole number, stuff like that. So number is one of the data types in Excel. So it can be whole number, it can be decimal, it can be any. So it's one of the data type that we have in Excel. Then another one is date. Date in such a way that we can have okay 1/01/2025. So that's another type of data type in Excel. So now it's another data type in Excel. Then other data type we have we have error. So how can we get error? Error in the sense that when you are there are different scenarios that you can have an error in Excel. So one of the ways is like okay, let me just give an example. Now let's say I have 12 here and I have 13 here. Now if I want to get the summation of these two guys, so I can actually say okay, the summation of the two guys is 25. Now let's say I want to get a division here. So if I say equal to this dividing this, so I'll get my answer. Now if I want to get for the second one, I will get an error. That's not what I'm doing. So if I'm saying equal to this slash 25 that I have here, then I have it. So if I'm trying to use the 25, same 25 to get the value for the second one, I will have error. Why am I having error? Is because I'm telling Excel that I want this 13 to divide by 0, which is not possible. So this is another data type you can have in Excel. So it's an example of data type is an error. Then another type we have is a text. So text in the sense that you can have any name. It might be Ola, it might be Ade, it might be anything alphabetically. So it's another example of data type in Excel. So are we together? Can you all hear me? Do you have any question, please? Can you all hear me? Okay. So moving forward, we'll be talking about arithmetic in okay, we'll be talking about flash fill and autofill. Flash fill and autofill in Excel. So how do we use autofill and how do we use flash fill? Now let's start with the autofilling. So let's assume I want to write a number from probably 1 to 20. So instead of me, okay, 1, 2, 3. So instead of me writing it one by one, so I can just highlight 1 and 2. So once I highlight 1 and 2, I'll drag it down to any number I'm going to. So I have it. I don't need to disturb myself. Then another thing is the way I have, let me say I want to do a kind of summation here. So let's say equal to sum. So now let's say I want to add this guy. Let's say I want to add this guy and this guy together. So if I want to get the rest value for the two columns I'm adding, I don't need to disturb myself. So I can just do autofill here. So it will give me the rest answer. Because what I'm telling Excel is that okay, I want Excel to follow the pattern I'm using, like the pattern I used to add the first two numbers. It should follow the pattern to get the values, to get the result for the rest values. So that's what I'm telling Excel. So that's how to use autofill in Excel. Then when we're talking about flash fill, flash fill is that let's say I have Adeola here, then I have Babatunde, so I have Babatunde, and I have Adeolu. Now let's say I want to split this name. So maybe I just write out Ade. Now if I write out Ade, so if I write out Ade and I want to use flash fill for the rest, what will I do? I will just press Ctrl A. I will go to the next row which is under the first one. So what I want to do here, what I'm telling Excel here is that the first name alone, I want to write out the first name in another column. I want to write, just like I have two names here, then I want to separate the names in different columns. So the first name will be in a column, then the second name will be in another column. So let's assume I have multiple names, maybe like 100 names. In a situation like that, I won't be able to be writing the names out one by one. So I can actually use flash fill for that one. So I will just, what will I do? I will write out the first name, which is Ade. So once I write out the first name, which is Ade, then the next row under it, I can just press Ctrl E. So Ctrl E will automatically write out the remaining names for me in that order. Now, if I want to use it for the second name as well, I can just write out Ola. So once I write out Ola, I will do what? Press Ctrl E again. So you see that it will write out the second name for me. So I'm telling Excel that okay, the first one I write out, I want Excel to bring out the remaining ones for me without writing it manually by myself. So that's flash fill and autofill in Excel. Any other question? Any question, please? Do you have any question? I can proceed. Hello? Okay. So, having done that, you can move to basic arithmetic in Excel. You can move to basic arithmetic in Excel. So, what are the basic arithmetic, like basic formula? So, in Excel, we have sum, we have average, we have count, we have minimum and maximum. Now, Excel spreadsheet is very useful in the sense that you can use it to track your day-to-day activities. You going to a superstore, like you go to supermarket, you buy some stuffs there, and you want to get the calculation of everything you have gotten in the supermarket. So you can actually use Excel to track the record of what you are getting there, what you have bought, without disturbing yourself or having any issue. Now let's start with the sum. Let's start with the sum. So I will be having new column here, which I will name sum. Then I will have average here. So here I will have maximum. Here I will have minimum. And here I will have count. Now after count, I will have count A. So let me clear this. I don't need them for now. Okay. Don't need them for now. Now let's start with the sum. Sum is addition of particular numbers. Addition of particular numbers. It might be total sales. Let's assume you are a marketer in a particular place, probably in an organization. You are a marketer in an organization. You have total sales, and you want to get the summation of total sales. It might be many products. Imagine you have like 1,000 products at a time that you want to get summation for it. Will it be possible for you to be adding them one by one? No, that won't be easy for you to do. For you to save your time, save your energy in order to be able to do some other things. So you can actually use Excel spreadsheets to tackle a situation like that. Now, what are you going to do? Now, using sum in Excel, you can use manual method and you can use formula, and you can even use a shortcut for it. Now, let's start with the manual method. To do the manual method, how will I go about it? So you just, whenever you want to perform any arithmetic in Excel, the first thing you have to have in mind is equal to sign. Equal to sign have to come first before any other things you can do. Equal to sign have to come first. Now let's start. So I will have, okay, equal to. Now I have total sales here. So let me say I just want to add some sales here. Using manual arithmetic, like using manual summation method. What will I do? So after equal to, I'll just click on the first number, which is 120. Then I will locate plus sign on my keyboard, plus the next number, plus the next number, plus the next number, plus the next number. So let's stop with that. So, and I will click enter. You see that without disturbing myself, I just have the summation of the five saves, like the first five saves. I have the summation for the first five saves like that. Then what if I want to use the formula method? What will I do? So that will be equal to sum, which is SUM, open bracket. Then you highlight everything you want to add. So let's say I have all these things. So I want to add all these guys together. Then I'll close my bracket and click enter. So with that, I'll have the answer for the total space. So that means this is my grand space. This is the addition of all the six during the period of time that we are given the data sets. Now, when we are talking about the shortcut, what's the shortcut for adding everything together? So let's assume you have all these total sets. You have like 50 product. We have like 50 total sets here now. I want to do want to use your shortcut to get the submission for all. What are you going to do? Under the total sets, under the last number, just put alt and equal to sign. So once you have alt, you see plus is at the top of equal to sign on the keyboard. So just press alt and equal to sign. It will give you, it will pop up the formula that you have added all the numbers in that column for you. Then what you just need to do is to click enter. So once you click enter, you have the summation of everything you have done. So that's just the shortcut for the summation in Excel. Then let's talk about average. What's an average? You know, at times you might be in a class and the lecturer will just enter. What's the average age of the student in this class? So what you are being expected to do is, okay, you have to add all the ages of the students in the class, then count the number of students, divide it by the all the divided by the all the ages you have added. Now let's assume you have 10 students in a class and you want to get the average age of the 10 students. So what are you going to do is that you will be adding the ages of those students in the class. So first age, second age, third age, till you get to the 10th age like that, then divided by 10. So that's an average. Average is just like a mean. It's a mean rather. Now let's start. For this average, we can use manual method, we can use formula. Now let's assume we want to use manual method. Since we know that we are going to add all the numbers together, then divide by the total count. So let's see. So I can easily say equal to sum, then open bracket. Now let me highlight first five products here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the first five. Then close the bracket. Then after it, I'll just put slash. So that slash is division. Then divided by 5, which is the count of the total sales I want to add. Then I will press enter. So you see, so I have 173, 173. So which is the average. Now if I want to use formula, what will I do? It just be equal to average, then open the bracket. Then I will highlight the numbers I want to add, the numbers I want to get an average for, close the bracket and have it. So you can see it's still 173. You see that it's giving me an error here. Why are we having an error? You see that formula omit adjacent cell. So what Excel is telling us that there are some other numbers that we have omitted here, but you don't need this right now since we are just using this one as an example to let us understand what is on that. So that's how to use an average in Excel. Then another thing we have that we can use in Excel, we are talking about minimum and maximum as well. So maximum, when we are talking about the maximum is the highest number. Maximum is the highest number of all the numbers you have. So let's say the way we have all these numbers now. At times you might have like thousands numbers and you might not want to be going through them one by one. In order to just find out a single number, which is the maximum number. When you can use Excel formula, why will you be disturbing yourself going through 1,000 rows before you can pick out a maximum number? So you can actually use formula. And what's the formula? Equal to max. Equal to max. Open the bracket. Then you highlight all the numbers. You highlight all the numbers you want to check. Once you highlight all the number, you can close your bracket and enter. It will pop up, it will give you an answer. So it's telling us that 670,000 here is the maximum number of all the salaries we have. So it's just like you have 50 employees and you want to know the employee that is having the highest salary. So you can actually use maximum to check the highest salary of the employees you have. Then you can use the same thing to get the minimum number. So what do you need to do? Equal to, open the bracket, highlight all the numbers. So let's assume you want to know the least salary now. Among all these 50 salaries, you want to know the least salary. So highlight everything, close the bracket and enter. So once you do that, so we have 350,000. So that means the least salary is 350,000 here. Then another one we are going to talk about now is count. Count. What is count? Count is just like, at times we call it n. When we are talking about, in statistics, we are talking about halfway, summation n is divided by n. That n is the total number of the variable, that the total number of the numbers we have here is the n. Here we have 50 rows. That 50 is our n here, is the n we are talking about. Now we want to know the number of n, that's why we want to use count. Now to get the count, to get the total number, now what are we going to do? It's just equal to count, open bracket. Then I will highlight everything. I can just pick one column. So I highlight everything, close my bracket and enter. So once I close my bracket and enter, you see I have 50. I have 50. Now let's take a look at a 10 now. I want us to check something now. I will still be using the count, equal to count. Then I'll open the bracket. Now I will now highlight this department, like the column of department, and let's see what our result will be. We are having 50 departments there as well. Then I will close the bracket. If you can see, I'm having zero. Why am I having zero? It's because that count cannot be used to count the text. So you can only use count to count numbers. You can't use count to count text. So if you want to count text, what will we use? We use count A. We use count A. Now let's try the count A now. Let's see if we are going to have our answer there. So equal to count A. Then open the bracket. Now let's highlight the department again, and let's see what we are going to have. Then close the bracket and enter. Now you can see we have 50. So that means this count, if you want to count, be it text or number, you can use counting. But if you want to count numbers alone, you can only use count. If you want to count text and number, you can use counting. But if you want to do the count, if you want to add the text together with it, you can use counting. But for number alone, you can use count. Any questions so far, please? Do you have any question? If you have any question, let me just hear you out, please. Any question? Okay. In the absence of no question, let's proceed. Now, the next thing we'll be looking at is logical functions. Logical functions. So we'll be talking about logical function in Excel. Now, you see, this logical function is very, very useful whenever you want to even do any analysis in Excel. Most times, you make use of it to do some advanced analysis in Excel. Now, uh an easiest example I can just, let's assume you are a course rep in a particular department or a level. You are a course rep. Now your level advisor might just, or any lecturer might just come and ask you, okay, you as a course rep, they want to give you the record of students, and probably the exam time is approaching. And they want you to determine the student that will be allowed to write the exam and the one that will not be allowed to write the exam based on certain condition. At times it might be like, some lecturer will be like, okay, if you don't have 70% attendance, you won't be allowed to write an exam. If you don't have 70% attendance, you'll not be allowed to write an exam. So you might want to use such condition. You will just be given the record of the student, and based on the certain condition, you want to know the student that will be allowed to write an exam and the ones that will not be allowed to write an exam. Now let's assume we have data set of the company now. We have the data set of company. We have their ages, we have the salary range, we have the bonus, total sales, join date, start date, remarks like that. Now I want to know the staffs that will be promoted and the one that will be retrenched. We want to know the staff that will be promoted and the one that will be retrenched. So the criteria is that, okay, any staffs that have above 120 sales will be promoted. If you are a staff and you have above 120 sales, you will be promoted, else you will be retrenched. If you have above 120 Cs, you'll be promoted, else you'll be retrenched. Now let's see. Let's take a look at it. So that will be equal to if, because you are using if function. If if this thing is there, you should have this. If it's not there, that's why we are using if. Then if open bracket. Now you now go to the condition you want to use. Now you want to use says. You want to use those. I will click on that says. Now greater than 120, because 120 is our criteria. Any staff that meet up with 120 Cs will be promoted, else will be retrenched. 120 comma. So the next thing will now be the condition. It should now be the condition. Now the condition is, if it is greater than 120, it should be promoted. You open the parentheses, promoted, close it. Else, this comma will be serving as else now. Then open it again, retrench. Then close it. Then close your bracket. Now let's have it. Now you can see I have retrench. Now I will do the auto filling here to have the rest result. Now I will give it a space. Now you can see now I have retrench, promoted. Now let's take a look at it. Why are we having retrench and why are we having promoted? You see that the first retrench is what? 120. That means the total sales here is 120. It's not greater than 120. Our condition is that any number that is greater than 120, any number that is greater than 120 should be promoted. So even if you have 120, once you are not greater than 120, you will not be promoted. So any number that is greater than 120 should be promoted. That's why we are having retrench here. You will see that the number here is 120, but we are having retrench. It's because the number is not it's because the number is not greater than 120. Now let's take a look at the second one. We have 4,000. No, we have 210 So that's why we have promoted. So it's telling you that okay, the staffs that have had more than 126 will be promoted, while the rest have, this is kind of a decision analysis that okay, the company can just use, okay, they want to decide. Let's assume they have like 1,000 staffs. They have like 1,000 staffs, and they want to know the one that will be sent back to their home and the one that will be promoted. You get? It's not possible for them to be checking their total sales one by one. So in a situation like this, once you have retrench promoted, it's a thing that you can just sort everything. I can just highlight everything like this, and I will sort A to Z. So once I sort, I know that all this promoted here, I will just check their name that they want to be promoted. So every other person here that are retrenched, they are the one going on. It's very simple. So you can actually use this. That's why Excel is very useful anyway. Excel is very useful anyway. You can use Excel whenever you are working. So as a data analyst, you can use Excel for different things, like various things. So do you have any question before I proceed? If you have any question, kindly call my attention to it so I can go back. Any question, please? Shall I proceed? Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. In the absence of no question, I think we should proceed because of our time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now let's move to and. Let's move to and. Now, the way we've used if, so you can use and. No, we have and, we have or, we have not, we have uh if and, we have if or, if not. So at times, okay. Another example of this if is that another example of this if is that we all use greater than here. So there are some situations that you might want to use less than. There are some situations that you might want to use greater than equal to. And there are some situations that you might want to use less than equal to. So if you want to use less than or greater than equal to, now what you just have to do here is just to change this greater than you have here. So let me just change this to less than. So once I change this to less than, you see that what we are saying now is that anything, any client, any staff that has less than 120 says should be promoted, else it will be returned. So I expect our result to be, so I'll use autofill. So you can see that we have different things. We have different things now. So our result is, because we are saying that any staff that has below 120 should be promoted, and anyone that has above 120 should be returned. So let's talk about and equal to and open bracket. So you can see the formula and. So when we use if, we added the conditions to it. Like, okay, if H2, if total sales is less than 120, the staff should, else the staff should be returned. But when it comes to and, we will not be adding that condition. So it will be giving us two of us answer, two of us result rather. Now you just have and H2 greater than 120. H2 greater than 120. Now, another thing is, if I want to use, let's say I have H2 greater than 120, then okay, age greater than 25. So what I'm saying here is that I'm using two conditions because I have and. Now let me explain it. And so we are that the two conditions have to be satisfied before before the staff can be promoted. Now the first condition is that the total sales, which is H here, column H, the total sales of a staff should be greater than 120, and such staff should be older than 25 years. The total sales of a staff should be greater than 120, and such staff should be older than 25. Now any staff that doesn't have over 120 sales and less than 25 years old will be false. And you see that our first answer here is false. Let me use autofilling and see the rest answer. Now you see that the first answer is false, and the second one is what? Truth. Now let's check it. You see that the total sales is above 120. This is 210, and the age is 27. It is greater than 25. So that's why we are having two. Now if let's check. Okay, you see that here we are having false here, and you see that the age is greater than 25. The age is above 25, but the total sales is below 120. When we are using and function in Excel, that means the two conditions have to be satisfied. The two conditions have to be satisfied before you will be passed. Now if one of the condition is being satisfied and the second condition is not met, you are not going to be passed. That's and function. When we are talking about if function is just one criteria, just one condition, greater than 120, less than 120, that's just one condition. But when we are using and the two conditions have to be satisfied before you can be passed or before you can be promoted when we are using and. So another thing we have is or. Another thing we have is or. For or now, instead of the two conditions to be satisfied, either of the conditions have to be satisfied. So any of the condition has to be satisfied. So we are going to be using two conditions as well, but any one of it has to be satisfied. Now let's take a look at it. Equal to or, then open the bracket. Now age should be greater than 25, comma, total sales should be greater than 120. Enter. Now you see that I'm still having false. Why am I having false? Because the two conditions here are not even met, and like none of the condition is being met here. But let's do the autofilling and see the rest answers. Now you see that almost all the remaining answers are true. Why? Because we are counting on just one of the conditions, not the two conditions. You see that here, fine, this one, the age is greater than 25, the total sales is greater than 120. But here, the total sales is less than 120, and the age is greater than 25. The age here is being satisfied, but the total sales here is not being satisfied. But because you are using or, it's just that either of the two conditions has to be met before we can have two. That's why we are having two. Because if you check all the rest columns, either of the two conditions are being met. It is only the first column here, the first cell here, that we are having both conditions that are not being satisfied, and that's why we have false. But the rest of the cells, the two conditions, either of the two conditions are being met. That's why we have two like that. Now for the not, let's take a look at it. Equal to not, open bracket. This guy greater than 120, close bracket. Not, you see that is true. Now not, this not is just an opposite of if, like, positive and negative. That's it. Positive and negative. When I'm talking about the positive side, opposite of the positive side is the not. Now you see that we use the condition we are following here is that the answer, the total sales should be greater than 120. But here you see that the total sales here is less than 120. It's not greater than 120. So the total sales is 120. It's not greater than 120, but we are having two because it is the opposite of the conditions that we have. Now you see that here is false. Why are having false? The total sales is more than 120, which is supposed to be true. But because we are using not, that's why we are having false. So when we are using not, it will be the negation of the possible of the positive outcome that is supposed to have when you are using not in Excel. It will just be the negation of the positive outcome that you are supposed to have. Any question? Are we together? Any question? Okay. In the absence of no question, let's proceed. Now the next one is if and. Here the only difference between and if and is that and when you are using and or not alone without if, the answer, the result will be just true or false. The result will be boolean. The result will be boolean. But when you are using if and, you can put the kind of result you want. Now let's say equal to if, open bracket, and. Now I'll write the first condition. The first condition is age should be greater than 25, comma. Now the second condition is total sales should be greater than 120. I'll close that bracket. Then comma. Now what's the first output I want? Like if the two conditions are being satisfied, what do I want? What do I want it to show? So I want it to show promoted. Open bracket, like promoted. I'll close it. Else should be retrenched. Then I'll close the bracket. Now what do I have? Retrenched. Let me change. Now you can see that we have retrenched, promoted, retrenched, promoted, retrenched, promoted, retrenched, like that. Now if you see that here that we use if alone, the result you are having here is almost like opposite of the result of the if alone. Now because here you are saying that the two conditions have to be satisfied. The two conditions have to be satisfied, which are the total sales has to be greater than 120 and the age has to be above 25. So the two conditions have to be satisfied before you can be promoted. So if one of the conditions is being satisfied and the other one is not met, then you are not going anywhere. You have to be retrenched. So it is only if the two conditions are being satisfied before you can be promoted. Are we together? Any questions so far? Any question? Okay. Then the next thing is if or. If or. Just like the way we use or here. So you can use if or as well. We have if and we have if or as well. Now let's check it. So that will be equal to, if open bracket or, then open bracket, this can be greater than 25, comma, the second conditions greater than 120. 120. I'll close that bracket, then comma behind it. So promoted, the first part should be promoted, while the second part should be retrench. Retrench. Then I'll close the bracket. Sorry. So promoted. What am I having? So equal to, if, then open the bracket. So or, so the bracket. So the first logical is, this should be greater than 25, comma. So the next one should be total 6, which it is greater than 120. 120. I can close that bracket. So the first part, which is promotion, else, it should be retrench. Retrench. So retrench. So now you see that we have retrench, promotion, 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 promotion. So it's because just one of the conditions has to be satisfied, not the two conditions. So the only difference between if and if or is that when we are talking about the if and, when we are talking about if and, the two conditions have to be satisfied. But when we are talking about if or, one of the conditions have to be satisfied. And or alone without if is that, and still the same thing, that the two conditions have to be satisfied, or one of the conditions have to be satisfied, but they will only return booleans for us. Whenever we add if to it, it will return the criteria, the condition, the criteria we want. It will return it for us. That's just the difference between these guys. So same thing with if not. So that will be equal to if not, open bracket. So this guy greater than 25. So I can say close the brackets. So promotion, and close the guy, retrench. So I have it like that. I can do auto filling for it as well. So you see that I have promotion, retrench, promotion. So it's just that this if not is the opposite of this if. If not is the opposite of if. Because if is, we are expecting the positive answer. Why the if not is just that it will return the opposite of the positive answer for us. It will return the opposite of the positive answer for us. Do you have any questions so far? Hello, do you have any question? Okay.
No question.
Okay, you can proceed then. So that's how to use logical function in Excel. Then the next thing here, let's take the last part before we go for today. So which is references. So in Excel we have two type of references. Like there are even three, but the two most common ones are just absolute reference and relative reference. Absolute reference and relative reference. So when we are talking about references, reference is that Okay, let me say I have equal to, so this guy plus this guy, I have it. Now you see that I have answers. Now if you check the first one, you see that it is B2 plus C2. Now if you check the next answer is what? B3 plus C3. The next one is what? B4 plus C4. B5. So what Excel is doing that, okay, once we use B1 and C1, B2 and C2 rather, for the first addition, so it will use the rest, like it will be following that pattern. So that will be B3 plus C3, B4 plus C4, B5. That is what we call relative reference. So if you just take the pattern and be doing it like that, that's what we call relative reference in Excel. But when we are talking about absolute reference, now an example of absolute reference is that I have equal to sign. Then I want to use maybe this guy slash this total. Then I have my answer here. So I have 41%. Now let me try to do the same thing. Now you can see that I'm having an error. Why am I having error here? Now let's check. You see that the first one here is what? B2 divided by C12, which is this, what we use here. B2 divided by C12. Now let's check. You see that it's used B3 divided by C13, which is this. Here is the C13. Then the next one it uses what? B4 divided by C14. So that means it's trying to follow the pattern that we used. It's trying to follow the pattern for us. And that's, when you are just like, what it's trying to do here is like, it's trying to do, okay, 210 divided by 0. That's why it's returning an error for us, because here we have an empty space here, so that means it is 0. So it's dividing all this guy by 0, so that's why it's returning an error. Now if you want to prevent that error, so that's why we use absolute reference. Absolute reference is such a way that we don't want Excel to follow the pattern. We want to lock a particular variable there. So let me delete this one. So we want to use, let's assume we want to use this alone now. Just okay, this is 210. So you just be like equal to this guy slash 210. Now that's it. But when we check, you see that the rest are error. Now how do we prevent the error? How do we prevent the error? So if you want to prevent the error, you just be like equal to this guy slash 210. Then press F4. Now, when you press F4 on your keyboard, it will give us this dollars and dollar sign. So we are telling Excel that we want to lock this 210 alone, that we want to be using this 210 alone to divide everything. Now let's see it first. So we have 12%. Then let's use autofill. You can see that we have the rest answer without showing an error. So what we are telling Excel, you see that now we have C2 slash C12. Then the next one is what? C3 slash C12. The next one is what? C4 slash. So we are telling you that we want to lock a particular number that we want to be using to divide everything. Not that it should follow the pattern and be using an empty cells for us. So that's it. That is absolute reference and relative reference in Excel. Any question so far? Any question? Hello? Okay. In the absence of no question, let's take a look at data validation and call it a day. Data validation in Excel. So what is data validation in Excel? Now data validation is just like setting certain criteria or conditions in Excel, like setting some certain criteria or conditions in Excel. Now, there are different data validations in Excel. So we have row number, we have date, we have text length, we have drop down list, like that. But let's take it one by one. Let's start with the row number. Now, if you want to do data validation, what we want to do is that if I highlight, let's say from the row 2 to row 10 now, I want to set particular numbers that can only be written in this cells. I want to set particular number. Okay, these are the number that I can only write in between row 2 and row 10. Any other number, it has to flag an error for me. Now let's take a look at it. So after highlighting the rows, so I will highlight the rows. So once I highlight the rows, now I will go to data. You see this small box, you see data validation there. So click on data validation. Now, any value, we want to pick the one we want to use now. We want to use whole number. Whole number. Now, we can use between. There are different conditions here. We have between, not between, equal, greater than, but let's use between. Now, I want to set a condition is so that I want to, like, the condition is that any number that will be written in this box, in this cells rather, should be in between 10 and 30. So the minimum is what? 10. While the maximum is what? 30. Then I'll click OK. Now, if I go here, let me say I write 20 here. So I have it. Now, let me try to write 49. You can see it's giving me an error. The value doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this cells. So that means I've restricted these cells that, okay, these are the numbers I want to write there. So if I claim this 49 and I write 26, I'll still have it here. If I even write 30, I have it here. Because the condition is that the number should be between 10 and 30. So anything outside 10 and 30, it will not work. Anything outside 10 and 30, it will not work. So that is for the whole number. That is for the whole number. Now, but you see that our restriction stops here at row 10. So let me write 30 here. Okay, 29. You see, it works. But here, if I write 30, even if I write 40, since it's not part of our condition, it will work. But I cannot write 40 here. It will not work because it's part of our condition. It's part of our restrictions. So I'll click it. So I hope we understand that part. Then let's talk about the date. Date as well, you can set certain date you want to write there. You can set certain date. Now, I will highlight from row 2 to row 10 again. Now, I'll go to data validation here. Then click on data validation. Now, let's say I'll pick date. This is the date. I'll pick date. Now, I can use between as well. Now, let's assume the date I want to use, maybe I want to use 1/1/2024. That's the least date. And the highest date should be, what's today's date? Let me just say one one okay, one should I use 11 slash 2025, and I'll click OK. So what I told Excel here is that any date that I want to write should be in between that date. So I can just say I can have 1/05/2024. It will work. But if I write any date below this, what will I have? Let's write 1/01/2023. You can see I'm having an error because I've restricted this says that, okay, these are the dates that I only want in this says. So anything outside those dates can never work. Anything outside those dates can never work. So that is dates. Then we have text length. Text length is that the number of text you can write. The number of text you can write. So if I highlight the rows as well, go to data validation, click on data validation. Now, I'll pick text. I'll pick text. This is text length. Now, let me change this from between now. Let me say less than. So that means the maximum number I can write here is 5. The maximum number is 5. I will click OK. So if I write which, it has to work. But let me write something bigger. Let's say Olani. Can see I have an error because the maximum text length that it can contain is 5. So any other thing greater than 5, it will not take it. It will not take anything greater than 5. Then let's go to drop down list. I will highlight the same rows. So drop down list. Now here I will pick list. I will pick list. Now the list I want to pick, yeah, I will just go to the source. Then what you want it to show. Now let's assume I don't know, maybe you want to travel. You are all in Nigeria now. Let's assume you want to travel. Maybe you go to an airport and you want to book a flight. You know, there are sometimes that you'll be given a I don't know, maybe a booklet or a sheet that you just pick any country you want. Now let's assume I want to add 4 countries, only 4 countries. So I can just say Nigeria, comma, China, comma, Brazil, comma, India. So I'll click OK. Now, if I want to write any name, that means if I now get to an airport now and I want to book a flight, so that means the countries that have been given here are only the country that I can book. Now, if I click on this drop down list, you can see it's showing just 4 countries because those are the countries that I've written there. So any other country here, that means I can't go there at that moment. So if I should pick here, I can pick China. Now let me try to write another country. Let's say I want to write Togo. You can see I will have an error because Togo is not part of the country that have been written there. So I cannot go to Togo at that point. At that moment, I can't go to Togo. I can only go to one of the 4 countries here that have been restricted. So I can only go to one of the 4 countries. So that's the drop down list for us. Then another time you can use drop down list is that let's assume you want to give some restriction. Now you know here I just make use of 4 countries. Now in a situation that you might have like 100 countries, or you might have like 100 variables that we want to put in a restriction, you know it's not possible for you to just be writing this one by one and be typing comma 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 the way you just did for this one. So in a situation like that, you can just have this. No, let's say these are the countries that, or these are the names I want to add, or these are the countries. They can be more than this. So what will I do? I will highlight those cells. So highlighting those cells, I will now go to data validation. Click on data validation now. Now I'll pick list. I'll pick list. So now instead of me to be typing the name one by one, I will just click on this arrow that I want it to take me to a source. Then I will highlight these guys. So if it is more than this, if it is bigger than this, I will still highlight them. Then after doing that, I'll click on this arrow to take me back. Then I'll click OK. Now, if you see now, you see that it will list out, you can see it has listed out all the names for me. So I can pick any names. I can pick any names I want. So I'll go to the next row. I can pick any names I want from here. So I can pick anything. So that's how list works for data validation in Excel. Now, let's talk about input message and error message in data validation. Now, you are using data validation just like here that we have restricted number to be 1 to 30. And I now write 50. And it now show an error. The value doesn't match. What if I don't want this error message? I want something better. Like I want my message, I want the error message to caution, like to guide the people that want to use it in such a way that you can only enter number between 10 and 30. You can only enter number between 10 and 30. What will I do? I will highlight the column again. Now I will now go to that data validation again. Data validation. Now you see error alert. I'll click on error alert. Now title that I want to show. So I can just pick maybe not valid or anything you want, just add anything. Now I want it to show kindly enter number. Kindly enter any number between 10 and 30. And I'll click OK. Now let me go here again and I'll press 40, 50. You can see this is the title, not valid. Kindly enter any number between 10 and 30. So with this, I've passed a message, I've passed an information to the user that okay, oh, this is the restriction that I have in this column. So I've given a valid information that okay, you can at times if this kind of error message is not there, the user might just be just trying, try an error, just be putting any number. But once you have the error alert there, okay, you can only enter the number between this and this. Then you have passed a valid information to the user that okay, this is the number. So the user will know that okay, this 50 is not valid, then you can actually change the number to like 30 or 20 something, and that's it. So the second one is the input message. Input message. Now, input message is that let's say the way we've been using logical function. There now. I want to type message. It's not giving us any hints. It's not giving us any hints. You can make it to be giving us an hint of what to be written there. Now, I will highlight this place. Let me say I want to use this guy as well. Or I want to use any text length. I can just pick anywhere. Then I'll go to data validation back. Now I'll click on input message. Now the title, I can just, okay, maybe info, or you can leave the title. Now input message, you can say, okay, kindly write any text below 5 text length. And I'll click OK. So you see that it's showing me that info. Kindly write any text below 5 text length. So that means if I want to write anything, I know that anything I want to write there should be below 5, at most 5. So that means if I'm writing 6, that means I didn't read the instruction, or I didn't get the instruction that has been passed to me. So with that, the error and input message allows us to, like, it enables us to give thorough information to the users when we are using data validation. It will make our work easier. Even when you are sharing your work to another, maybe a colleague or someone else, a co-worker. So once you have written the information that you've given the error alert, so the person will be able to know that okay, this is what I need to do here, this is what I need to do here. So without having any issue. So I think this will end our today's class. So let me give a little time to welcome questions. So any questions so far, please? If you have any questions so far, kindly ask. Any question, please?